What is going on, you guys? Today I'm back with another video, and I'm going to be showing you my girl of my dreams edit. I'm going to do an edit breakdown. So just as a reminder, here's what it looks like. And without further ado, let's get started. So we're gonna go to the beginning. So in the beginning, these are just my editing unit logos. So let's start with the first scene right here. So I used one of the clips and I time remapped it. So you guys already know my time remap settings, so I'll just show you as a brief reminder real quick. I might even put this in quarter playback, so if I just go to the end and then like that. Let's see if it'll, yeah, so alright. So if something looks a little bit funny, it's because it's on quarter playback. So, but I retimed this clip, so I just did, let's see, I did a graph like this, so ease in graph, and I changed it to flow and checked all of these, and I put a optical flow node and I turned everything all the way up. That's just how I like to do it. It just makes everything look smooth, and if you're having trouble with some warp, it really helps to kind of cut down on some of the warp in general, and gets you a smooth clip. So, and next for the transition, all I did was, oh no, this is the text. So for my text, I used Amanda's signature, and I basically used a mask to, let's see if it'll show up. I used a mask to reveal the text. So yeah, there it is. I used the mask to reveal it, and I turned the softness up a lot, and I made the mask wide just so it can kind of cover more of the area and make the text look a little bit more seamless. And I used an erode dilate. This is good to use on some of your text if you have a font that you really like but it's really thin, so you can kind of use it to control the thinness or the thickness of your text, and you can make it a little bit thicker. Next I use Fast Expo Glow. This is in Sapphire, not Sapphire, sorry, Reactor. It's a really good glow, I like it. I changed the range to 1.2, and that was pretty much it for this glow. And for the transform, I like to use a transform better than using, so on each text node it has like a transform built in a little bit, but it's best to just kind of leave that alone and just take a transform node and adjust it like that. So yeah, so then I put some particles that I have as an overlay. I can't exactly tell you where I found these, but just get maybe someone's editing pack, and more than likely they'll have some white particles like this. I just put that there because that's what Xerx had did, or that's what YU did. I used YU as I used him for the remake and used Xerx for like an IB because this is Zerk's audio, but the visuals while you made an edit similar. So, and let me see where the blur is. So I also put those particles where the editing unit logos are. So let's see what I did here. Okay, so this is my CC. So I used color curves and I did something like this. So this brings up the highlights here and brings up the contrast here by pulling this down over here, and by lifting this up it changes the highlights. And the LUT that I used, if I can see it correctly, I used a Moody LUT. So you can get this LUT from freshluts.com, I believe. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. And then I used the CC node to bring down the saturation because it was really saturated. So just to cut down and make it look better, I took down some of the saturation. Another thing that I used on some of my particles, if I go here, is, let's see, no, I didn't use it here, but I'll see if I used it somewhere else. So the thing that I'm talking about is CB Alpha Glow. It's really good for overlays and even some other kind of effects. It's really handy. I recommend getting it. Link in the description for that. And now to the next transition. So the next thing I just did was a zoom in. So let's see. It should be here. Yes, okay. So for this was a zoom out, and I used a background node to kind of fade in. So I turned the blend down at 10 frames and I just left it as a linear graph. You can do that when it comes to fades. And in the beginning I also used a blur, and mine stopped at 20. This is lens blur. So lens blur actually is only in the paid version of Resolve, but if you want something similar, you can get defocus gamma from Reactor. It's really good. So, and Peach has a tutorial on that, and that should be on the screen. So, but next I did a short zoom in. I didn't make it the entire clip just to speed it up a little bit. So it should be at 2. And I did 2 because I didn't want to zoom it in too much because of the next scene. So this yellow clip right here is the blur into the next transition. So it essentially is just a lens blur again, and this one is a little self-explanatory. This is my graph right there. Alright, next. So first I'm gonna explain probably what a lot of you want to know is how I did the paint looking effect right here. So this is probably my favorite part of the edit. So I'll start with my reference that I kind of used to help me make this, which is Peach's 2D typography tutorial. it kind of helped me put this whole thing into perspective a little bit. So I'll start with this. So this right here is my background node, and I just made this 1920 by 1920. That's what Peach did in his tutorial. So with the 2D camera movement, that's basically my idea for the scene, or at least for how I would make this scene. So next, right here was the fast noise. I added this last, of course, because I had to make everything else, but this is just the fast noise that I had for a background. These are the settings, and this is the transform. I believe this is to zoom it in a little bit. I'm actually not even too sure what I use this for, but next, so CB Alpha Glow is what I use here. So it's a really good glow made by CB Super. He makes a lot of good tutorials. I suggest checking him out. And I use CB Alpha Glow for this overlay. So these particles kind of already are glowing, and basically what CB Alpha Glow did was it took out the black background and made them glow a little bit more. I just had to change the color because by default, whenever you put CB Alpha Glow here, it's gonna be like a purple, or it's gonna make anything that you select a purple. Well, not that you select, but as soon as you put it on your clip, it'll take out the background, but it will change your subject to purple, so you just have to change it to white or whatever color you want. And I used the transform here to position it. So next is here we have a background node. So let's see. Oh, no. So, okay, this is next. So if I can just, all right. So here is part of the clip. So what I did was I masked out a freeze frame that I had of the previous clip, and I just made it into a compound clip. That way it'll be easier to kind of control. So, and then once I made that compound clip, I put it in here, and I did fast expo glow to brighten her up, and use transform to kind of bring it down. So next is the hands. So I used the freeze frame from that scene and masked it out. Did the same thing, and I used fast expo glow again, transform to resize it, and so forth and so on. And then next, what I did was, so if I go here, next what I did was add the lines. So for this, Peach's paint node tutorial, or the tutorial where he does a MoGraph effect with the paint tool, that's really useful, and that's what helped me to kind of make this. I had to reposition the lines just to make it work. So I used the background node, the paint node, and I just set it up to how I wanted it, and I used fast expo glow on all three, and I drew a path. You want to select this when you're trying to draw a path to make it better and to just be able to smooth it out. And then here's where my movement was happening. So pretty much some of these are the camera, and then others are to position it. So let's see. This here was to zoom in a little bit, position it a little bit. Then here is the node that kind of finishes the other transition. So the transition from the previous clip was a zoom in, so this is zooming in, and then this one is doing the slide up that it does. So this is sliding upwards in the comp. So this is sliding up to where the hands are. And then the crop is what the final thing will look like. So as you can see, this is kind of cut off, but that's because of the resolution. So once we have the crop, it'll reposition it, and that's basically this scene. So next we have the text. So we have Amanda's signature again, but this time I did something a little different. So I positioned it, and for the blend mode, I changed it to exclusion to have this kind of invert effect that I saw in YU's video. And I basically did the same exact thing for this text as well. Here. So if it'll I did the same thing here. So next we have the scene where it kind of comes together, comes back together. So this here is just another blur. The only difference is that it has a glow. So it just has a glow. Same kind of graph. I just squished the graph a little bit. Again, we use the particles. I believe I use CB Alpha Glow here too. Yep, CB Alpha Glow. It's really convenient. So then here is where, okay, so that's good. Here is where the transition happens. So let's see. I did a scale in, and then I did something a little bit. I believe this is linear, or it might be smoothed out. Yeah, this is linear. I just needed some extra movement to kind of make it zoom in a little bit more, because once it stopped kind of zooming in at the end, it was kind of stiff, so I needed some more movement. And this is the same glow. So here is the burn transition. So Peach has a tutorial on it, but I'll show you how I used it. So essentially, so this right here is the same concept. So this is a fast noise for the background, and I didn't show this in the last one, but I turned the alpha up on both of them. So, and for the burn away transition, so the way that I did it is, if you don't want it to necessarily be a stinger transition, you can put a background node here and turn the alpha all the way down if you just want the clip to burn away, but you want nothing behind it, or you don't want two clips to be visible at once to just kind of have a different effect. Then that's how I would recommend doing it. And then put your clip here. So put the background node into the green input and your clip into the yellow input. And next is the particles. Once again, so this is a different set of particles that I use, but CB alpha glow transform. Next is, so the hand, I copied it and just masked it out, and it's overlapping the original clip. So now the background is burning away and the hand is in clear view. So, and next I used transform for the transition. So I just did a small zoom out instead of a larger one. So, and next I used a crop node here, and here is where I did my text. I used Apple Chancery this time, and Fast Expo Glow once again, and a transform node. I believe I just added this here because I believe I was going to position it, or wasn't sure if it'll be okay in that spot, so it's just there. So next is the transition to the next part. So the way that I did it, I needed like a small transition before it actually moved to the next part over. So that explains the change in particles and whatnot. So I essentially did this the same way I did the other scene with the lines. So background node, but this time I changed the width to 4096, and basically just made it wide. So I did the same background. Particles, they were this size because, or they look like this because in the crop node they'll fit in. And next is the paint. You already know how that works, so I just drew it going across like that. And then you have the hands, and you have this. So here it was, let's see, so there I did a mask, and here I used an ellipse to kind of make it zoom in and expand. So, and there is where I did the transition. So use the transform for the camera. Use this transform to, I believe, position it. Yep, position. Or no, this was to position, this was to transition over to the next one. And I used a crop node to show the final result. This is how Peach has done his 2D typography, so I believe that tutorial really helps with knowing camera movement and just other things in general. So the crop, and then final transition, which was a zoom in. So yeah. So next is a zoom in. And other than those parts, the rest of this edit is pretty simple. So I did my text, I used one signature, fast expo glow, transform, the usual. So here I did my normal transition. This is in Peach's S-curve tutorial. So this is a fake zoom. So I did the S-curve graph on this point here, and I zoomed it in, and then I did a transition out, a zoom out. So an ease out graph, something like that. So this is the same blur glow, and here is just a zoom out from 3 to 1, and here is where I basically faded two parts of a clip that I wanted to use. So I just used the blend mode and I used the background node. So this is a good way to fade stuff. So you put your background node into the yellow input instead of the green, and your media in into the green. And then once you tinker with the blend, it'll adjust it. And same with this clip. But I didn't want it to fade all the way in, so next thing is I did a slide transition where the offset is. So I basically just slid down. I did 0.25, so not that much, but it worked. And for the offset, I believe I did it a little differently, or maybe not. Yep, no. So Peach has a offset tutorial. For this offset though, I did 2 frames instead of 1. So, or no. So yeah, I did 2 frames instead of 1. But I did it a little differently. So I kind of just put the Y up and did wrap around, and since it's 2 frames, it'll look decent. So for the slide, it's the movement, and then the directional blur is just the 90 here for the angle and 0.1 for the length. And that's what I did for the offset. And then here is basically the same thing as the beginning. I use the particles and my editing unit logos, and yeah, and then I ended off with the particles. So overall, that's the edit. Hope you guys enjoyed. This is a breakdown, so it might not be a direct tutorial on everything, but if you saw something in this video that you really liked, just let me know, and I'll try to make tutorials on certain things in the future. I have a bunch of tutorial ideas, so I'll be making some of those and more edits to come. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you all in the next one.